Hi, this is Curt Wilson with Beats on Bites. Today we have Julia Vari, an international singer, songwriter, performer. This is a class act, brilliant, and you're going to really enjoy this interview. So stick around. Take care. Thank you. And do you enjoy performing in video more than live, or is live the
I prefer live.
energy?
I do. I prefer live.
Yeah, I think any performer probably you want that feedback, and you want to know that you're touching people and that you're having an impact.
I think so. I think there are some artists who prefer being in the studio as opposed to singing live. But I like being in the studio. But if you ask me, do I prefer video or live? Definitely video, or definitely live.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. And when did you start performing?
Oh, when I was about 2 or 3, okay. My mom was a pianist, and so I learned to play the piano really young. And at that age, I was kind of already, I wasn't performing really, but I was already kind of playing the piano next to her and, doing simple stuff on the piano. Yeah. And I started training formally at about 5. And I did musical theater. I was performing in musical theater since I was young. I loved being, I was in Grease, Annie, some musical theater shows. I really enjoyed that. And that was the first, I guess, stage of my career. And then no pun intended. and then I left music for a few years, and then I came back and I started working on my solo career. And it just so happened that I sort of moved into jazz. And people often ask, well, why jazz? And because neither of my parents are jazz musicians. My mother actually doesn't really like jazz that much. She was not happy about when I with Habanera, she was like, well, why don't you just leave it the way it was? It was written this way. Why would you change it? She's a classical pianist. And so, classical musicians, it's just a very different way of thinking. It's exactly how it's written.
The way it's done.
The way it's done. So she had a hard time with also when I did my third album, which is Adoro. That was recorded with a very well-known Mexican composer in Mexico. His name is Armando Manzanero. He's like Frank Sinatra of Latin America. He's very, very revered, very well-known, very respected, and it was a big honor to record with him.
Adoro las cosas que me dices, nuestros ratos felices, los adoro, vida mía.
And we recorded a song that's very well known in Mexico called Adoro. I adore you. And it's that the original version is kind of like bolero pop. And my arranger, I didn't do the arrangement, but we put it into a sort of a bossa nova jazz fusion thing. Mm-hmm. And my mom was beside herself. She was like, because she knows that song since when she was younger, and she played it on the piano. And she's like, wait, but why would you change it as good as it is? Why would you change it around?
Interesting, huh?
So, yeah.
I love when people take a song, especially a classic song that everybody knows, and puts their own spin on it.
Because I think what makes it interesting, what makes music interesting, right? To put your own spin on it.
You already have the original version, so why not create something that has somebody hear it for the first time, in a sense? I think it makes a big difference.
Exactly. I'm glad you agree with me.
But we're the only ones right, I'm sure.
I know.
So I have to step back for a second and say, you said that you stepped away from music for a couple of years. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I won't. You know what? I won't say.
You're so about music. It seems like was that just a time in your life where you were?
It was a time in my life. I mean, I have a degree in organizational psychology.
Okay.
And I actually still do a little bit of that now. I do some consulting, human resources management, and it's. When I took the time completely off from music, I won't say it was a mistake, because I don't think anything is a mistake. You just kind of part of the life part of the process of living and experiencing. And so I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but I definitely realized that you can't, like, even when you want to, and sometimes I think most artists would say that at some point, you just say, oh, it's so frustrating that you wish you could do something else, but that you can't.
Right.
It's like, even if you want to, sometimes you can't. It's in your soul, it's in your blood. And it's just, you can't give it up, and you always keep going, and you try to, find a way for people to listen and enjoy your music. It's kind of the only option that a musician has. It's like, you just keep doing it.
Right. It is who you are.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I think some people, and Purple Rain, all these stories about, his father stepped away and then became an alcoholic, and they struggle with the fact that they're not being their true selves.
Exactly.
And so I think that's really important to discover how important things are to you. And I talk a lot on this Beats on Bytes, how music is the soundtrack of our lives. I mean, it impacts our lives in such a fantastic and indelible way. It's a gift that we're able to do that and share with people.
Absolutely. I think absolutely. It's funny because sometimes people don't think about how important music is. A lot of times, when, for example, when the music budget is cut, it's always the first thing to be cut from a budget, in the government or at a school. It's always music and art, like,
Yeah.
Right? Yes or no?
No, it's absolutely true, and it makes no sense, because you take the things that make us human. You take the things that make us have empathy and caring for the people, and then art. It's frightening. Frightening when that happens.
Yeah.
So as a performer, I know you started it too. You probably have a different style than when you first started. But have you noticed in your professional career, in maybe the last 8 or 9 years, have you changed as far as your performance style?
Yes, yes, and I think that as you grow older and you have more life experiences, both good and bad, but principally not necessarily bad, but maybe difficult is the word. That helps you. That it makes you a stronger performer, because you can use it and bring it in. I always use this example. I remember when I was probably like 16 or 17 when I played Rizzo in Greece. And I don't know if you're familiar with Greece, but it's
Come on. Heck yeah.
But it's a challenging role, and she goes through something really difficult, and at that age, I mean, I guess I was fortunate to have a childhood where I didn't have any difficult experiences like that, and it was hard for me. It was hard for me to interpret that role. But as you grow older, you're bound to have difficult and hard and sad experiences, and those experiences make you a stronger performer. So I think that over the years since I've had more difficult experience, since I've lived, you live and you have good and bad experiences, and I think that inevitably makes you a stronger performer, and I think it's definitely made me a stronger performer. I can see it in myself and feel it in myself.
Right. No, it's fantastic. You have to draw on that as now, as a songwriter. You said you write songs as well.
I do.
Now,
yeah.
Have you recorded your songs?
I have a few that I recorded on my last project.
Okay.
I have one that's called Bygone Nights, which is on YouTube, and that it's on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It's on everywhere.
Scores crumbled on the floor like leaves, bottles mislaid, cigarette ashes, false eyelashes, butterfly nerves, songs to be played.
And that song was actually that was when I was first kind of starting my career as a songwriter, because I've been writing songs for a long time, but I was always afraid to kind of get them out there.
Right.
And I still am a little bit, but I'm slowly getting over that fear. And that was actually a moment. I was living in LA, and I had a difficult experience. I was I was going to be in a play, and they cut me out of the play. They said I was no longer going to play the role, and it was very heartbreaking for me. And I left LA on a whim, and I was like, I need to get out of the city. And I went to this songwriting retreat in Idlewild. I don't know if you know Idlewild, but
It's beautiful. Absolutely.
it's like one of my favorite places on the planet.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Don't tell anybody though. Okay.
I know, because now it's
Secret.
No, I wish it were still more of a secret. But and so I went to a songwriting retreat, and that's when I kind of started writing a little bit. And that song I wrote shortly after with a really great songwriting friend of mine. Her name is Jen Hush. And it's about this girl who decided to give up music, just as we were talking about, and kind of get married and go live in a small town, and she missed her old life. And that's what the song talks about. So it's cool. The lyrics are really cool. I mean, I have to give her credit. She's more of a lyricist and I'm more of the music side, but we did it together. It was a collaboration.
Sure.
And it's I really like how it turned out. And Mario Santos, who's an amazing arranger in Mexico, he produced it in Mexico. And it's great. And there's a video. We did a music video. It's on YouTube. And so that's one song that I put out there. And then another one is called Te Veo, which is I See You in Spanish. And that's another one that was on my last project. And that was also arranged by Mario Santos. And that you can actually see a performance of that live on, there's a TV program in LA called the Dante Night Show, which is in Spanish. But it's a very highly rated show. And so I performed that show. That's on YouTube also. So it's not a music video. It's just a live performance of that song. And it talks about when my boyfriend wanted to leave me, and I convinced him to take me back. So that's what the song is about. So those are the two songs. Let's see, am I missing one? Yeah, those are the two songs that have been produced and have been on albums.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell so I can let you know when I've got more content coming up. And thanks so much for being here. Beats on Bites, Curt Wilson. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.